was waiting for my flight at San Francisco Airport. This journey made no sense to me as I was flying back to Heathrow. Then 30 hours later, I'll be flying back in this direction to Barbados to meet up with my new assignment, the V. I personally thought it would be cheaper for the company to fly me from San Francisco to Barbados, then put me up in a hotel and wait for the V to dock. Unfortunately, some people back at base just didn't understand a thing called cost saving, as well as not putting staff members through the added stress of flying back and forth across the world. To be honest, I'd grown attached to the bucket. I felt like I fitted in and made a good friend of the resident noise boy Squishy. I was a bit apprehensive of starting again, though I was relieved that I was no longer a fleet babysitter. Now I was a permanent resident of the V. I had been told that the V was known within the fleet as the party ship, though it was something that I would believe when I see it, as I was told that the bucket was a party ship, which it wasn't. Whenever there was a party on the bucket, it was usually over as soon as the bar stopped serving. The flight home went well. I was asleep for most of it, and I returned home with a small stash of rum that I stockpiled from the Caribbean. I called into my friend's flat for a flying visit and arranged to stash my stockpile at his on the condition we opened a bottle whilst I was there. This was a great deal, so I said yes, and we had a good old session of chatting shit and getting trashed on the overproof Caribbean rum. The day turned to night, and the night became day once more, and I found myself back at Heathrow and all checked in. As I started to sober up, I began to resent having to lug all my belongings to and from the airport. I maintained bitching about the twats in head office within my inner monologue all the way through security and continued to curse to myself in the departure lounge right up to the point I was about to board the plane. These dipshits back at base just didn't know how tedious it was for a smoker to do 2 long-haul flights in as many days. Luckily for me this time round, I managed to procure a disposable e-cigarette for me to puff away in the toilets on the plane. I know you're not supposed to, but fuck it. I was too tired and hungover to give a shit. The plane took off, then I realised that my TV was fucked. The screen flickered and distorted. It was unwatchable. I checked the time. This was going to be a long bastard of a flight. My laptop's battery wouldn't last 3 hours even on super battery saver mode. So I made the decision to wait till 3 hours into the flight before switching it on. That would give me the entertainment I would crave, then an hour to wait till we landed. I just needed to find myself something to keep me amused for the 3 hours. The stewardess passed and offered me a drink, so I ordered a double vodka Red Bull. She served me with a smile. The fakest smile anyone could produce. I could sense what was on her mind. This guy started early. I just hope to hell that he doesn't vomit all over my section of economy class. I took my drink and thanked her. My drink didn't last that long, and I became bored once more. I left my chair and started to go for a short walk towards the rear toilets. It was time for a pony smoke. I opened the door and then locked it. I started to puff away and belch in the vapour into the plug hole of the sink. It was my belief that by doing this, it wouldn't set off the smoke alarms. Success, it worked. I decided it was time to kill 2 birds with one stone and take a dump. This would knock at least half an hour off my long wait to use my laptop. Just as I pulled my trousers down ready to pebble dash the bowl, there was a knock on the door. A voice came through. "Can you hurry up? I need to go." The voice was that of some old crone. I was thinking to myself that this horrible old bitch didn't even have the courtesy of saying please, so I would not interrupt my shit for no one, least of all for some real old hag. "I'm taking a shit, you'll have to wait for it or find another Kazi," I shouted back. There was no further communication from the old-mannered old bag. I just assumed that she found another toilet to empty her colostomy bag into. After I'd finished and washed my hands, I felt it appropriate to have another few blasts of my pony smoke before I jettisoned my turd. This would keep my brain a bit more levelled. I had enough blast to give my head a head rush and then flushed the toilet. I observed the air pressure just suck everything down the hole. This gave me an idea to relieve my boredom later on. I left the confines of the toilet and I walked towards my seat. I walked past a long queue for the toilets. I noticed the stewardess and I asked for another double vodka Red Bull, where she gave me 2. I guess she couldn't be bothered to keep coming back up to me, so she saved herself some time. The next couple of hours passed slowly, and I was already steaming with booze. I looked at the time and I thought it would be a good idea to return to the toilet and have some more blasts of my e-cig. There were no queues. I just went inside and started to take some slow, long blasts in the e-cig, exhaling into the plug of the sink once more. Whilst I was enjoying my nicotine, I remembered my idea. I removed the toilet paper from its holder, then uncoiled the long length of the toilet paper and shoved it into the toilet. Without breaking the ream, I replaced the roll onto its holder and then had a few more blasts of my e-cig. My head was rebalanced with nicotine and I hit the flush button. The ream of toilet paper just uncoiled itself as it was sucked down the toilet. The ream span and span and span until it came to a halt. I estimated that 3/4 of the bog roll went down in one go. This was an awesome waste of toilet paper and needed to be done again, but this time I had to film it as I knew that some of my friends would call bullshit. I set up another ream of toilet paper for another go, then pulled out my phone and began recording. I pointed to the phone in the mirror so I could be seen and then panned the final time to the taut ream of paper in the toilet. I hit the flush and stepped back, getting the ream and the toilet into shot. This time nearly all the toilet paper went down. I stopped recording, slipped my phone back into my pocket and returned to my seat. I pulled out my laptop and began watching movies. Every time the stewardess passed, I asked for another double vodka and Red Bull. In the end, I didn't need to ask. Every time she passed, she just handed over my drink of choice. This kept me occupied right up to the point the battery died on my laptop. Eventually, we landed and I was back in the Caribbean. I left the plane and walked through Barbados International Airport towards the immigration desk. There was a short queue, and it didn't take me long enough to get to the head of the queue. "Can I have your passport, please?" said the man. I handed over my passport and my seaman's discharge book. "What is your business in Barbados?" the man said. "I'm joining a ship in the morning. Do you need to see my joining instructions?" I said. The man nodded, and I produced my joining letter. The man looked at it and handed me back all my documents. "Have a good time, sir," he said with a big smile on his chops. I smiled back and said, "Oh, I will." I left his desk and went over to the baggage reclaim. There are only 2 baggage carousels at this airport, so I waited in between them until one of them sprung to life and waited for my luggage to arrive. It was a short wait, but as soon as I found my bags, I picked them up and made my way to the exit with a fag in my mouth. As I lit up, a man approached me with a placard with the company's logo and the ship's name. "Are you Paul Collis?" said the man. I nodded, and he beckoned me to follow him. I did this as I chugged down my cigarette. The man loaded my bags into his car, and he took me to my hotel. As the car came to a screeching halt, the man added my baggage to the curb and said, "I'll be picking you up from here at 8 o'clock sharp. Don't be late." In a shot, the man drove away and left me outside the hotel. I went inside and checked in. The room had a balcony and a stunning view. I was tired and I just went to sleep. I wanted to be fresh and ready to see my new ship and the adventures ahead of me. I was woken up by the phone in my hotel room. I picked up the phone. The voice on the other side said, "This is your wake-up call for breakfast. This is your wake-up call. Breakfast is now served in the restaurant." The lady on the phone slammed it down. I guess she didn't want to be here at this time of the day. What was the time of the day? I thought to myself. I looked at the clock. It was 6 a.m. Fucking bitch. She could have given me at least another hour. Breakfast was a full English buffet style. Nothing special. I had 2 reloads as I was quite hungry, and today it would be a long day with a new ship to explore. I went back to my room and picked up my bags, then went to check out and wait for my ride. The port agent arrived bang on 8 as promised. We loaded my bags and made our way to the airport. The ride wasn't too long, it was about 20 minutes. As we drove along the coastal road, I could see my new ship and home in the distance. The V was getting bigger and bigger as we approached the port. She made the bucket look like a lifeboat. The V had a short stubby nose compared to the bucket's massive pointy one. The funnel of the V had a yellow mesh-like frame around a cluster of exhaust pipes. The aft end had a big rectangular shape compared to the bucket's majestic tiered classical style. I was impressed, and it is hard to impress a cynical cunt like me. I got out of the car and thanked the port agent. I picked up my luggage and walked through the terminal building. I passed the GC3 shop and made a quick pit stop. I picked up 2 bottles of Mount Gay rum and then made my way to the V's gangway. As I walked up the gangway, I touched the ship's shell with my hand. For some reason, I felt I was home. I handed my paperwork to the ship's security and they let me aboard. I asked them how to get to the crew office and they pointed down the corridor. The V was so big, the gangway passed the M1 corridor. I walked down and found the crew office and signed on. As soon as my signature was completed, I was ready to start my new adventure.